So compound lifts build a good foundation for athletes. It would be hard to find a successful athlete who doesn't do compound lifts in the weight room. So if you're an athlete or martial artist of any sort, these should be something that you do. But there's 5 muscles that need to be trained separately that get neglected by many athletes, and if you do train these muscles, your performance will increase a lot and you'll reduce the risk of an injury. The first thing I'm going to mention is your hip flexors. These are the muscles responsible for lifting up your legs when you're doing something like running. But when I was in junior college and I was playing football, I was really desperate to try and get faster. I was a cornerback when I was playing football, and speed in that position is very important, not just for the actual game itself, but also if you're trying to go to the next level. Your 40-yard dash time could be the difference between getting recruited and not getting recruited. Like, it sounds kind of dumb, but colleges will literally pick you up if your 40-yard dash time is good, and they might not even take you seriously if it's bad. So in this desperation, I got a program to make me faster that focused on working out your hip flexors. And the whole time, part of me was thinking, damn, this is probably a scam. But it was saying that if I did do it, it would increase my 40 time and my other sprinting times. And ended up doing it. So it's actually something that worked really well for me. It's called the 15-minute speed trainer if you're interested in it. But of course, it only shaved a little bit off my 40-yard dash time and my other sprint times. But if you know anything about improving your speed, you know that even a little bit is a massive deal. And they also say sports is a game of inches, so it made a big difference in my gameplay also. Like pass breakups I wouldn't usually get, I would get because I was just one step faster. And that's all because I trained my hip flexors. But also, if you do martial arts, your hip flexors get used when you kick. And it's also the same thing when you throw knees. So if you work out your hip flexors, your strikes will get more powerful too. And the last reason I recommend working out your hip flexors is because hip flexor injuries are really common in sports. I've actually pulled mine before, and getting a muscle stronger makes it less likely for injury if you train it correctly. The second thing is a muscle in your arm called your brachioradialis. I learned about training these from Louis Simmons, who's a famous powerlifting coach, and he had his powerlifters train this muscle to prevent elbow injuries. Also, it's not the main muscle that's activated when you're doing a pulling movement. That's mainly your back muscles, but it's a muscle that still gets activated, so if you get it strong, you'll be better at pulling exercises in the weight room, and also you'll just be stronger when you're grappling. And there's many exercises you could do for this, but one of the easiest that you've probably heard of before is hammer curls, which is just where you do a curl, but instead of twisting it at the top, you just leave it straight. And just one last thing about working out your brachioradialis, I learned from John Meadows, who's a bodybuilder, who sadly passed away, but I used to watch his videos all the time, and he said that this muscle actually increases the overall thickness in your arm because it works a muscle that's connected to like the side of your bicep or something like that. But it's hard to explain, but if you try this exercise, you'll get a pump that's kind of unique to other bicep exercises. The third thing is your neck. This is one of the most underrated muscles in my opinion, and if you do a contact or combat sport, I think it's a non-negotiable to train it because it prevents concussions. That's because if you have a weak neck and you get hit in the head, your head will rattle side to side, and your brain will then crash into your skull, which causes a concussion. Whereas if you have a strong neck, your head will just be able to kind of stabilize itself and your brain won't crash into your skull. And even if it does, it won't be as bad if you have a strong neck. And with your neck, you also use it a lot during grappling, and it's just kind of an aesthetics thing. Like, people with a thick neck look a little bit more manly, and when someone calls you a pencil neck, they don't usually mean it as a compliment, and it just fixes your posture. If you've never trained your neck before and you'd like easy no equipment neck exercises, I have a video on this that I'll link in the description below. The fourth is your tibialis muscle. Most people have never heard of this muscle before, but I learned it from Knees Over Toes guy. His real name is Ben Patrick, but he teaches people how to prevent injuries. I'll link his channel, of course. But having a strong tibialis muscle will prevent knee and ankle injuries, because if that muscle's strong, it will take some stress off the tendons and ligaments, which in turn will reduce the chance of injury. Also, I've never really had this problem, but a lot of my friends have, and that's shin splints. And yeah, working out your tibialis will also prevent shin splints. My old strength and conditioning coach would have the team do 50 of these before every practice for that reason. But it's not just for injury prevention, it's also for performance too, because it's a muscle that gets activated when changing direction or decelerating after sprinting, which is super important if you're a football player or if you're a boxer and you're just using your footwork. But one easy way to train this is with tibialis raises. This is just a quick and easy to learn exercise you could do pretty much anywhere. So yeah, give those a try. Now the fifth and last thing is just your grip and hand strength. This is super important for combat sports because if you want to be able to punch someone and not hurt your hand or break it, or just have an advantage when you're grappling, your grip is super important. Also, it's just a manly thing to have a good grip. You always feel a tiny bit off about someone when you go in to shake their hand and it's kind of a dead fish. I have a video on how to improve your grip and hand strength for combat sports, which I'll link in the description below. But yeah, the last muscle and thing that gets neglected a lot in my opinion is just your grip and hand strength. Like I said, check out the video, but one of my favorite exercises to improve your grip strength is just rope climbs. And I'm gonna give one last bonus thing, and that's working out your stabilizers with things like balance exercises. I learned about this from Faraz Zahabi, who was George St. Pierre's coach. And it's not something I really ever worked out before, but he said it's a great thing to do to increase your performance and prevent injuries. And he explains in his seminars that stability is super important for athletes. So over the past year, I've put a little bit extra attention to my stabilizers, and I feel safer in my body and stronger because of it. It could just be a placebo, but at the very least, it's actually pretty fun to do these exercises and work on your balance in my opinion. And also, if you're able to stand up on a stability ball, it's just a nice little flex to your friends. But I hope you start training the 5 muscles I mentioned. I promise they will make a difference in your performance. I have videos related to all of these muscles in the description below. And if you have any questions you think I could help with, just ask me in the comment section below. But if I had to pick one out of the 5 muscles I just mentioned that I think you should start training ASAP if you're not already, it would definitely be the neck. And like I said, if you need a place to start, just check out my video on no equipment neck exercises you could do. I'll link that right here. And with this channel, my goal is to help martial artists and athletes with their goals. So subscribe if you're interested. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.